Hi, welcome to another episode of the Lakewood Church Business Ministry Monthly Focus. We kicked it off this year, starting off in January with Pastor Brandon talking about consecrating your business. In February, we focused on your business plan, how you enhance it, update it, and keep it in line with God's plan for your business. And in this month of March, we're going to be talking about marketing tips and tools. Before we get into the episode, make sure you stay connected to us. And one of the ways you could do that is by texting business, the word business, BUSINESS, right, to 77377. And so that you can stay updated on when our episodes go live, and make sure you follow this page as well so you can get notification. So, like I said, for the month of March, we'll focus in on marketing tips and tools. Marketing is that process that helps businesses to build awareness while connecting with target audiences in a way that resonates and inspires action, right? So it's an integral part of any business or organization. But how do we, as Christ-centered entrepreneurs and career professionals, marketplace missionaries, as we call, how do we promote our businesses and organizations while staying true to our faith and values, right? Which of the many available channels that are out there should we focus on? And what are some of the marketing trends on the horizon? I know, so many questions, right? But I have the perfect person to help us navigate this and walk through it. Before I bring him on, I just want to let you know this episode is going to be filled with practical and actionable advice for anyone interested in effective marketing strategies and tools for their businesses. Again, the perfect person. I'm talking about Joe Gonzalez. My brother Joe, how are you?
Hey, how's
Very
it
good.
going? I'm doing good.
Good to see you, bro. Good to see you.
Likewise. So good seeing you.
Yeah. Like I said, in that opening while you were behind the scenes, there's so
That was very
much in
kind.
the marketing space now, it's always changing. So I am so grateful. Joe is marketing director at Lakewood Church, kicked off with the Rockets. So you've been on both sides and you can really speak
Yeah.
to it, and you functioning at this high capacity. Before we just jump into the questions, because I
Yeah.
want to know as much as I think our listeners are, can you just share a little bit of background bio of
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think for me, I've always loved what I'm doing right now,
Mhm.
but I couldn't put it to words. And when I stepped into this role, I was able to really see and do what I've always enjoyed doing and what I feel like was a gift from God that naturally came from me. And I've had a very fun, um, um, God-led career in the sense I know
Right.
God's been the one who's been like opening the doors and really guiding me.
Mhm.
And I think it all just came from faithfulness. I think my heart has always been, God, I'm gonna follow you. I'm
Come
obedient.
on.
Whatever you need me to do, whatever you want me to do, I'm gonna do it. And I think it's it's been a posture of surrender. So when I think about that, I'm like, yeah, that is I will do that. And so I really started with design. I started with design when I was young, and it all started because the church that I grew up with needed someone um, to run the lyrics on the
Mhm.
screen. It all started there, and it started with
Wow.
PowerPoint for me. And I
Wow.
remember basically it used to just be a black background with white lyrics on the front,
Mhm.
and I wanted to change the font. And then I started adding colors and gradients to the background, and
Mhm.
that's how it started for me. And a lot of it was really self-taught. I was just
Wow.
messing with it, and
Wow.
I was doing most of my work on PowerPoint, and then I discovered Adobe and Photoshop, and then that became its own thing. And
Yeah.
I've I've always, well, from a young age, I made a decision like when I was 15 that
Mhm.
um, what who Jesus meant to me wasn't my parents' thoughts or religion, or it was personal to me, and it was
Come
an
on.
encounter for me.
Come
And
on.
it was a summer camp, and
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
that age, I had made the decision that everything that I wanted to do to glorify Him. And
Amen.
so I did a lot of the self-taught. I learned a
Mm-hmm.
lot. I took
Mm-hmm.
tutorials. I was on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, and then I graduated high school and I went off to do missions for 2.5 years. And
Wow.
I was basically with a program called Master's Commission, and it was in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
And in Puerto Rico, we went to go help out. We were able to go to Haiti. We were able to go to Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
and we were able to do a lot of work there, and it was amazing. And I was able to do more and more for the church and the
Mm-hmm.
organization, and I think that exposed me to even more. So when I came back, I I decided I wasn't I still had that burn, that
Yeah.
passion that I
Yeah.
wanted to do missions. I didn't think I
Yeah.
was going to come back and do school or go to
Yeah.
like work retail, but that's what
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And I did that full time, but I
Mm-hmm.
still had that in me, just wanting to do something. But what I realized that all along those years, God was really positioning me,
Come on.
gearing me up to be here where I'm at
Come
right
on.
now.
Come on.
And what I saw early on, I was able to do some design, and
Mm-hmm.
through an internship program that I did, I was able to connect with creative director at the Astros,
Mm-hmm.
and there was an opening there, and they took a chance on me and gave me
Wow.
an opportunity to, and so I was able to join the Astros. And
Mm-hmm.
what's funny is I remember getting the call and thinking like, man, if all I get is this call, that is the coolest thing ever. And then I remember being there for the interview, and thinking like, if all I got was this interview, that was the coolest thing ever. And little did I know, and I remember getting then like, all right, so the next day, just like you go through your background check and all of that. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember thinking like, if I get only that far, that is the best thing ever. And little did I know that God was opening that opportunity,
Come on.
and really,
Wow.
and I was able to be there for 2 seasons.
Mm.
Um and and then and then I got an opportunity to go be with the Rockets.
Wow.
And I just kept seeing God just
Come
opening
on.
and closing doors.
Come
And
on.
it was just a very clear path.
Wow.
And so now it wasn't easy.
Yeah, of
It
course,
was
of course,
clear,
of
but there
course.
was there were a lot of there was a lot of crying out like, God, what do you want me to do? Where do you need me? What am I supposed to be
What
doing?
should I be?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I feel like I had an incredible experience with the Astros, and then when I went to be with the Rockets, I had an
Mhm,
incredible experience there too, and I
mhm,
learned a lot while I was there.
mhm,
And I remember being in rooms while I was at the Rockets, and I kept thinking to myself like, why am I here?
mm,
This isn't my role.
mm.
Um, I was grateful to be in those rooms, but I was like, why
Yes.
am I here? And I would listen to the conversations, to the thought process, and listen to the
Mhm,
marketing team just have these
mhm,
conversations about campaigns that we were going to do, or finding
mhm.
solutions to the things that were happening. And
Yeah.
the way I see it now was God was preparing me, and all along the way, and He had been,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
And I was in those rooms for a reason. And so
Yes.
when I stepped into this role, I realized like, oh, you had me there
Come
because
on.
you were preparing me for this.
Come
So
on.
when I would step into this, I wasn't just in those rooms, but I was
Yeah.
leading those rooms in the
Yes.
conversations, and
Yes.
it was amazing. And so
Wow.
when the opportunity came
Mhm,
to come work here at Lakewood, I it was really a dream because I'd been
yeah.
volunteering at the church while I was working for the other teams. I'd been
Mhm,
volunteering at the church, and I was doing a lot of work. This is my church. I love it.
mhm, mhm.
I've cared for it. So it was something more personal to me than just
Yeah.
a job.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I always say, even to our team, is
Mhm.
whenever we come to work, I don't want us to come to work just to do a task or do a
Yes.
job. Like,
Yes.
this is meaningful and purposeful, and
Come
what we
on.
get to do is pretty amazing.
Come on.
And so I'm grateful. I think
Yeah.
every day when I get up and I get to come to work, I love it. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Wow.
You know, there's a lot that happens here at the
Yeah.
church, and
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful that we get to do it.
Yeah.
We get to service all the ministries, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
the business ministry being one of them.
Yeah.
And
Thank
so
you
it's
so
really
much.
cool. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
really cool
Yeah.
what we get to do. And,
Yeah.
side note, I know you and I get to work together, and that's
Yes.
through what happens with like our streams, our live
Yes.
streams. And something
Yes.
that I'll say, I remember when Brandon initially brought you up and I met you, and
Mm-hmm.
there was just this like joyful and kind spirit, and it immediately there was this connection, and I was just so moved and so grateful, and I had so much love
Yeah.
immediately. And so
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
smile always does that for me. Every
Thank
time I
you.
see you, it's just so encouraging, and
Thank you.
like I think you carry Jesus so well. And
Thank you.
and you do that
Thank
with
you.
everyone that I've seen around you, and to me
Thank you.
personally, to my family, with Van and Jesse. And so
Yeah,
I'm really
yeah.
grateful for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so much. I appreciate that so much. And yeah, it's going to be a conversation between friends, like,
yeah.
just letting the rest of our listeners and viewers know that these are close friends chatting. The first time I actually met you was when you were working for the Rockets. It was a men's
I remember
event,
that.
yeah. And then I love the fact of how God, first of all, took you through missions, understanding
Mm,
how to like go out and do missions, like get that spiritual grounding, so to speak. They now brought you into the vocational part of, okay, getting the skill set. And then here he's brought you home, because Lakewood, at the heart of Lakewood is missions. Well, the heart of Lakewood is
yeah,
God's people, God and his people.
for
So
sure.
that now is missions. Dr. Paul,
Yeah,
spends 3 4
yeah,
months in Africa. We
yeah,
we want to be that local church that has a global reach. So now here you are, not just with the skills, the vocational, like, okay, I got this, I got this degree, I thought I learned this, I learned that, but you have that spiritual background as well, understanding missions, understanding how to cater for God's people in your way. So
yeah,
man, that's amazing, like, to hear
yeah,
your story. I never knew you were in the Astros before you came over to the Rockets, but
yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool. That's cool.
I know.
And then think about it too, we are in the former Rockets building,
I
so
know. I know. I'm
it's
always
all
blown away
just
with that. By when Pastor shares the stories, and when I
yeah,
see like the championship years, and it's like,
yeah.
wow, we that all happened here where we
Yes,
gather for
yes,
church,
yes,
where
yeah,
we gather and lift up Jesus. It
yeah,
so I'm always in awe when I'm in that room, because
absolutely.
I've been at the Toyota Center,
Yeah,
and in that room I see all the people cheering and the
yeah,
excitement there, and
hmm,
and like I think about this room and what it represented so many years ago, and now
yeah.
it's like the focus during worship, during
I know.
prayer, during the message, like it's
Yeah,
Jesus.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's amazing.
That's so good. That's so good, brother.
Yeah,
So let's jump into this now.
let's
Let's
do it.
really dive in.
Let's do it.
You've been in these rooms now. You're operating at this high level for one of the largest churches in the world. What marketing strategies and techniques, sorry, have you found most effective for reaching and engaging of faith-based audience, just generally audiences, right? And
Yeah.
how can this be adopted into other industries? People that are listening to us trying to figure out, okay, what strategies and techniques would work for me to be the most effective.
Yeah, for sure. And when I first came into this role, I
Mm-hmm.
think something that I had to learn early on, and I had amazing people around me
Mm-hmm.
um, who were just very helpful and insightful,
Mm-hmm.
because the church is very diverse. And so
Yes.
even when I think about a campaign, a
Mm-hmm.
project, when I would think about things, I would think about things very narrowly. And when I say that, I mean um, I'm I'm more of a digital generation.
Yeah.
So when you're
Yeah.
communicating with me, I will take actions if you're communicating to me through an ad on
Mm,
social, on web,
mm,
or through web,
mm,
or
mm,
through email, right?
mm, mm.
But if you're communicating to me through direct mail, that's not going to work. If you're calling me about something,
Yes.
that's not going to
Yes.
work,
Not gonna work. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think for early on, I had to learn it's about the audience. And
Mm.
so when I was thinking about strategies for the organization, I couldn't just think about myself, because it wasn't, and so I had to think about our target audience, who
Yes.
we're reaching,
Yes.
and understand, like, we're reaching generations.
Come
We're
on.
reaching the older, the
Yes.
younger. We're,
Yes.
we're reaching, and so when we think about that,
Mm.
it's I think it really changed the format for me,
Yeah.
because I then knew it understanding who we were communicating to,
Yeah.
and finding the best ways to be the most effective in communicating to those groups.
Yes.
So something
Yes.
that's really cool, and I was able to see here, pastor knows what his calling is.
Mm.
So that means
Mm.
he knows what the calling for the church is. And
Yes.
so to kick it all off, it really needs to, what is the message? What are
Yes.
we carrying? What are we communicating? And
Mm.
I think for us, it's we're a church that gives hope to the world. We're a
Yes.
lighthouse of hope. to the world, you
Yes,
know?
sir.
And it's so when we're thinking about even communications, I mean,
Mhm.
I'll tell you this now, we're working through things to help um, communicate with people and speak to people in their language
Yeah.
through AI technology and
Come on.
through all these different tools that are available
Tools.
now. It's like
Yeah.
how can we reach people? Because there are people from all over the world who are connecting.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's thinking about the global part, but
Mm.
at the core, like I said, it's all right. What is the message? What are
Yes.
we communicating? Who are
Yes.
we?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
from there, it's understanding who your audience is. And if you don't have an audience yet,
Hmm.
it's defining who you want your audience to be.
Come
And
on.
so it's important to know that ahead of
Mm.
time, whether you're trying to reach what if it's thinking about, let's say, the youth program, you're
Yes.
reaching students in high school and
Yeah.
ministry. Now
Yeah.
I'm talking about a ministry here, but let's
Yes.
let's go to a business. if
Yeah.
it's a if it's a business about, I'm gonna just give an example because it came to mind, but about
Yeah.
pets,
Yeah.
your audience there is it's not just um pet owners.
Hmm.
um it's everyone that's around the pet owners. So you think about families,
Yes.
so your audience isn't just uh, the pet lovers, but it's also the people who love the people who are the pet lovers,
Come
you
on.
know?
Come on.
And
Come
so
on.
I think I remember working in retail and
Hmm.
getting asked the question, when someone walks into the store, who are you expecting, or who are you expecting to communicate to?
Hmm.
And I was working in retail, and the question or the answer kept being, people kept saying things like, "Oh, you're thinking about people who are into fashion, or you're thinking about people who are stylish and
Hmm.
want new things." And the answer back from the manager at the time was, "Well, it's really everyone."
Come
And when
on.
you think about it, is you are communicating to those that are coming and looking for fashion updates.
Hmm. Hmm.
You're communicating to those who are looking for gifts for family member or loved ones who aren't
Yeah.
necessarily looking for themselves. So that
Yeah.
it's broader and wider, but you want to define that at the core,
Yes.
figure out who
Hmm.
and who your audience is, and then building from there. Um, so that's
Wow.
really helped. And then something that's also key is being being on multiple channels.
Mm.
For the ministry,
Hmm.
there's some key channels that we're on, and here's what I
Yeah.
mean. We communicate through our web,
Hmm.
right? We have people who love going to our website and engage that way, communicate
Yep.
that way. We
Yep.
have people who communicate through email, who love
Hmm.
receiving emails or SMSs.
Yeah.
Then we have people who love communicating and engaging with us through social.
Hmm.
And that's digital, right? But then
Yes.
we have those that, for me, it's harder to, but we have those that connect through direct mail
Yeah.
and love receiving letters and
Yes.
responding to the letters and engaging with
Yes.
the ministry that way. And
Hmm.
then we have people who love receiving calls and connecting
Hmm.
through calls.
Hmm.
And for us, we're able to have also our Sirius XM channel
Yeah.
and our TV broadcast. So we have multiple channels,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
another key thing.
Yeah.
Whenever you are um, really trying to make yourself aware, you want to think
Hmm.
about the channels of where your audience is at. The reason why we're on all these channels is because,
Hmm.
like I mentioned earlier, when we would look at our audience, we have different generations. The
Yes.
different generations connect in
Differently.
different ways. That connect.
Yes.
Some do just want physical
Hmm.
and mail because they trust that, they feel safer there.
Yeah.
Some do want digital
Yeah.
and trust that and feel safer there. And
Yeah.
so it's knowing your message,
Yes.
knowing who your audience
Hmm.
is, and having multiple channels.
Yeah.
I think those are three
3
main
points.
points.
Okay.
And there's more to that, right?
Yeah.
But I think let's go back to that pet store
Yeah.
idea or concept. Thinking about the multiple channels, it's
Yeah.
they, if they're on social, you want
Yeah.
to have a site
Yeah.
because you want people to be able to get information somewhere,
Hmm.
foundational information about your brand,
Hmm.
your organization, what
Hmm.
you're doing
Yep.
somewhere, and then you're having social channels
Yeah.
to help broaden that a little more.
When you say that though, it sparks because I have a 6-year-old. So when these channels that she's plugged into, whether it's Disney or whatever, they're not just selling to her, they're selling to me and my wife. They're selling
Yeah,
to those,
totally.
oh, yeah, like, oh, this will be great for your daughter. Oh, get, like, yeah, so most times she's the primary, but if you extend it to the secondary, that's why I'll sometimes see something, I'll be like, oh, she would like this. They'll make it like, oh,
Yeah.
I never thought about it like that. And then when you also talk about the fact, I learned this too when I got into web and all that. Like I'll look at a design, I'm like, no, this doesn't look good. Oh, this color or that color. But when I started doing like user research and interviews, and I was like, wait, the users like it this way. I'm not going to be the user. So I had to
Totally.
now start educating
Totally.
clients like, hey, me and you will not use this product. What does the
Uh-huh.
data say? Who are
Uh-huh.
the people using it? What would cater
Totally.
to them? Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it is a game changer because it broadens you and but it also focuses you because
Yes.
you're able to then understand, okay, I am not, I might not be the target audience.
Yeah.
Who is? Let me define that.
Yes.
And then, like I said, you're still understanding that it's going to impact so many around that target audience. But who it is and
The
what?
main one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That is so, yeah, man.
yeah.
Bro, so you kind of already dabbled into this question. So we'll probably just pick it up from there. Channels,
Okay.
man. I'm talking
Yeah,
TikTok, Snapchat, this. I'm like, wait
yeah,
a minute. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
how there's so many channels available for us to communicate, and I'm staying digital because again, we still have those that love the mail, that when I
Totally,
receive
totally.
pastor's voicemail, I save it. I'm like, he
Yeah,
called me directly. That's from me, you know what
totally,
I mean? So
totally, totally,
you have all these channels, right, to
totally.
communicate with target audiences. How can these marketplace missionaries determine which of these target which of these channels to focus, right? And
Yeah.
also, which one to ignore? What's that process like?
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of it has to do with which platforms can you be the most consistent on, right? Because if you have a platform just to have it, but never post anything on it, it's not doing you any good, you know? So you have to decide one, how much energy you're going to give into it. Because let's say,
Oh,
for example, someone who has a Facebook, a
yeah.
Twitter, an
Hmm.
Instagram, a
Hmm.
TikTok, and a Pinterest,
Yeah.
but they only use Instagram and ignore the rest, but they have the rest, it's
Hmm.
not really helping them. You
Come
know,
on.
and these tools do have ways of connecting to each
Yes.
other. So,
Yes.
there are ways of like if you upload a video on TikTok, TikTok makes it available for you to then share it on Instagram,
Instagram. Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram connect to each other.
Yeah.
So there are ways to still have the content available, but you do want to think about which ones are you going to be the most consistent on? I think that's
Yeah.
one of the biggest struggles
Yeah.
where you're trying to gain someone's trust when you're
Hmm.
communicating with them, and they want to believe in whatever your cause is or whatever your business is, whether it is something that like I'm referencing the pet store, like
Yeah.
it's something
Yeah.
that cares
Yeah.
for pets, or it's like resources for families
Hmm.
or pet families, but you want to know that there's a level of trust, there's a level of consistency.
Hmm.
That if you're going to that account, you're going to
Hmm.
get the content that you would
Hmm.
kind of generally look for. So let's go back to like the different platforms I mentioned. There's Facebook,
Yeah.
Twitter,
Yeah.
Instagram,
Yeah.
TikTok, Pinterest.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
you could do YouTube.
Hmm.
So the cool thing is that we live in a day and age where all of this is available for free. You can
Yeah.
create these accounts
Yeah.
and do more with them. I
Yes.
think consistency and strategy is important because if you
Oh,
have it just because it's free, but
yes.
you're not, and you got to think about them differently too, because the type of content that you would post on a Twitter versus what you're posting on TikTok is different.
Mm. Yes.
And
Yes.
so you don't want the users to feel like you're just repurposing content for the sake
Yeah.
of repurposing, but you're
Yeah.
intentionally putting something out there that is going to be meaningful and purposeful to them.
Come on.
So trend wise, there's a lot of trends that you can follow.
Hmm.
Now, you want to stay true to yourself.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so
Yes.
I'm like, if you are an account that focuses on encouraging or inspiring, then
Mm-hmm.
you might not necessarily be doing the dance trends. Do you
Yes.
know what I mean? Like that doesn't,
It
those
doesn't
don't go
align.
together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Now, if your account is entertaining and
Mm-hmm.
you are bringing inspiration and you are bringing dancing,
Mm-hmm.
that goes. But
Yes.
you want to, that goes back to defining uh, who you are, then go
Mm-hmm.
into your audience, and then
Mm-hmm.
just looking at some of the key things and channels that you want to be on. But
Wow.
so I mentioned those are all digital channels, but
Yeah.
you also mentioned there's like the direct mail side, there's the
Yes.
SMS side.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a website, you, I think something that's important and social media doesn't offer
Mm-hmm.
is um, because it's all based on the algorithms of these platforms.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you want to not control, but if you want to navigate and lead the messaging and how you're trying to communicate with your audience, you do want to build your list. So something that's very important to us is we want to make sure that um, on social we post something, but it doesn't mean that it's reaching our entire audience.
Yes.
Some like
Yes.
what tends to happen is you might have, let's say, 10,000 followers
Mm-hmm.
following on a social account.
Mm-hmm.
Not all 10,000 will receive your content.
This is true.
A percentage of them will,
Yes.
and that's
Yeah.
all based on performance. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
all algorithms, right? So
Yes.
if you do want to connect
Mm-hmm.
directly, it's
Mm-hmm.
always um, important
Yeah.
to have that direct contact.
Yes.
So whether it is on your website, having a stay connected form
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
you're able to email,
Mm-hmm.
or an SMS account where
Yeah.
you're able to also engage with people through text. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's important.
Yeah.
Something that I've
Yeah.
seen. I'm a big again. I'm a sucker for digital marketing because I will sign up for whatever you ask me to do. If I care about it, I'm going to sign up for it, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm an easy target. If and the ads know me. They
Mm-hmm.
know the things I like and what I'm looking for, and I'm an easy target.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but something that I think for us is just very important. This goes back to what I mentioned earlier about consistency. You don't want to
Mm-hmm.
open a social account
Yep.
and not post anything and leave it inconsistent,
Mm-hmm.
because you need to have a reason for people to keep coming back.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and same thing goes with like what I was saying with SMS, with text messages.
Mm-hmm.
I opt into multiple SMS campaigns.
Yeah.
Um, if there's a band that I like
Yes.
and I want to know more about them, I sign up for it.
Yeah.
What I've seen is that I sign up for it, but I never get any communication. And again, it goes back to
Yeah.
the consistency. If
Yeah.
you're if someone in your audience, if someone who's interested in your brand is taking an action to do something,
Yes.
um, but you're not responding back with the action that they've taken on for,
Come on.
you kind of lose that trust.
Yes.
You're breaking, and that hurts your brand and ultimately the reputation of your brand,
That's
um,
true.
because you want to be able to um, build the trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I've taken the action to give you my email, or if I've
Mm-hmm.
taken the action to give you my phone number
Yeah.
to connect with me,
Yeah.
um, do it.
Yeah.
I've given you
Exactly.
access to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think for us internally, we have an incredible team.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have an
Yeah.
incredible team for
Yeah.
email and SMS, and we have an
Mm-hmm.
incredible tool for email and
Yes.
SMS.
Yes.
And I think whenever we start a campaign, that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that we always ask up front. We want to make sure that we're not just starting a new SMS campaign to start it and to have a
Yes.
code,
Yes.
but that we are maintaining it and communicating
Mm-hmm.
often with it.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, you don't want to. That does not mean send someone something daily.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go to the other extreme and overdo it.
That is so
Create healthy
true.
boundaries even for
Yeah.
your audience,
Yes.
because
Yes.
you don't want to send them something to where they're opt out. And we can go deeper into
Yes.
that, right? Because
Yes. But
you'll look at the data
mm-hmm.
and really start understanding what works and what doesn't work. Whether
Yep.
it is, okay, people love receiving messages from us on Mondays,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm a speak to the ministry a little bit more, but
Hmm.
for us, we have people, like I mentioned, from coast to coast, from
Yeah,
the
yeah,
East
across
Coast,
the
the West
world.
Coast.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah, so when we're sending an SMS campaign, we
Mm.
have to think about that. We have to make
Wow.
sure that
Wow.
and there's different tools even,
Yeah.
like I mentioned, we have incredible technologies
Hmm.
that we get to work with, and
Hmm.
the technologies also offer opportunity for you to send them at specific times at whatever
Yes.
time zone they're in, but
Yeah.
not everyone offers that. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying it's important to think about that. But you'll look at that,
Yeah.
whether whatever time, whatever day is
Mhm.
the most effective for you to
Yeah.
communicate, and then
Yeah.
just doing that,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
without keeping it silent for too long, because it is
Yeah.
important,
Yeah,
um,
to stay in touch. You see,
to
when
stay
you
in
say
touch.
that, when you say that, brother, that's I love our
Yeah,
conversations because I'm learning here too. You started off with know your customer, know your audience,
yeah,
right? And that
yeah,
plays into this because now you're like, hey, our people are across the world, across different time zones. So the
yeah.
intentionality of not sending somebody a text message at 12 midnight, a mom that's trying to put kids to sleep or just coming back from the
Totally.
night shift, like,
Uh-huh.
hey,
Uh-huh.
immediately I'm going to opt out because now I wanted to stay in touch, but not at the not by sacrificing my peace, like
Totally.
my phone going off. So that alone, to know not just know your customer, like, okay, Remy is my customer, he does ABC, but understanding where they live and then
Yeah,
understanding what's the right way to communicate with them. That is so key. That is so
yeah,
key right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think it's amazing because I think about, whenever I'm receiving things, or whenever I'm communicating things,
Mm-hmm.
or whenever we're pushing things out. I'm gonna give you an example. And this was kind of a funny one for me. I love it because um, we have some incredible people who
Yes.
connect with the ministry from all over
Yes.
the world, and
Yes.
there's people who are in different states,
Mm-hmm.
in different countries, who
Mm-hmm.
consider the church their church, and it is a beautiful thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And something that we do on the Joel Osteen ministry side is we send out daily prayers,
Yes.
um, Monday through Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and if a a prayer devotional
Yes.
is late,
Mm-hmm.
we get called because we've created a trust,
Come
right?
on.
Of
Come on.
consistency,
Come
and
on.
it goes out every day that I just mentioned,
Yes, at the
at the
same time.
same
Yeah.
time. And
Yes.
so there's this trust that you've built, and if there's
Yes.
something that's off, the audience knows.
Come
And
on.
I think it's funny, or it's very, I love it. It's
Yeah.
endearing because
Yes.
I love that people look forward to those
To that.
devotionals, because
Yeah.
you know um, we work so hard
To
in
put them. Yeah.
making sure that that we're able to connect with people
Yeah.
who want it, need it.
Yeah.
But then you also see people are hungry,
Mm-hmm.
to start their day off
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
start their day off intentionally seeking
Yes.
God,
Yes.
um, reading a devotional,
Yeah.
praying a prayer,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I think that's pretty amazing. But yeah,
Man, that's so good, brother. That is golden to have
yeah,
any kind of contact from users. That is really, really key. I put out
yeah,
something that I just built recently that I was sharing with you yesterday. So people were interacting with it, this directory, and they started coming back with, oh, what about this? Oh, what about that? Initially, I was like, why don't you all build it yourself if you want all this? Like I was trying to get in my feelings, but I was prompted by in my spirit, like, these are your users giving you feedback. Rather
totally.
than, of course, they might not give it the way you want it. Some of them might be crude with it, but this is feedback. Start
Hmm.
distilling it. Start listening to them rather than getting your feelings like, oh yeah, I know this is, but yeah, okay, thank you for doing this. So you
Yeah,
saying that because any kind of communication is key. Even them
yeah,
coming back like, hey, you didn't send it, rather than be like,
yeah,
yeah, we didn't send it because we're going through this. The internet is not working. These are your users that they're letting you know
uh,
that I like what you give me. I didn't get it
yeah,
today. That is key.
yeah,
That is key.
yeah. It is, and it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
just said, the fact that you could get that real time feedback. If
Yes.
you've created a path for that, whether it is we've received calls, we've
Yeah.
received emails, or
Yeah.
it is like a DM on social media, like
Yeah.
um, those are important things,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love it.
Absolutely. So something you touched on earlier about staying true to yourself, right? Because
Yeah,
hey, if you are like a lawyer, maybe a dance trend is not really for you, because then people
for
will be
sure.
looking like you like, okay, who are you trying to cater to? Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now as Christ-centered entrepreneurs and business owners, want to promote their organizations, their business to build these authentic relationships with their audience, how can they achieve this and not come across as overly commercial or inauthentic? Like, oh, this trend is happening. Oh, I got to do it. Like, trying to be FM or MO, fear of missing out, trying to be where
Yeah,
everybody is. So
yeah,
what like advice do you have for them to be able to do this, and remain true to themselves?
yeah, for sure. I think a lot of it naturally comes with like your gut feeling, but I
Mm,
think that's also the Holy Spirit's guidance, right?
preach it.
Like
Preach
you
it.
know,
Yes.
like who you are,
Yeah.
who He's called you to be, what He's
Come
called you
on.
to do,
Come on.
right? So then it's then looking at, okay, I know these things. Those
Yes.
are those. If if you go back to the Word, they're based
Yeah.
on the Word. They're based
Yes.
on what He's called me, called me to do and be.
Yeah.
Um, and then it's seeing what could be out there,
Hmm.
because there are trends that cater to the different brands,
Yes.
or it could cater to your brand,
Yeah.
but it's looking at the authenticity of who you are.
Yeah.
Something that there's social people want you to be authentic, people want you to be
Yes.
real,
Yes.
and again, it's thinking about the different generations, but
Yeah.
everyone communicates differently. I was talking with one of our coworkers here recently, and
Hmm.
we were talking about communicating to teams,
Yeah.
and we were talking about feedback to
Hmm.
teams. How do you
Hmm.
communicate feedback?
Hmm.
And each generation is different,
Come on.
right? And each generation receives it differently.
Yes.
Like there are generations who are like, "Tell me, what do I
Yes.
need to do?"
Yeah.
And there's a
Yeah.
generation that's like, "Okay, you need to sandwich that for me. Tell me what's good. Tell me what I need to work on, then tell me, you know."
Break it down.
And so,
Yes.
yeah, and so there's you go back to like the trust side.
Yes.
You want to understand and build this trust,
Yes.
and you build this trust by being able to communicate directly to someone, and
Hmm.
being authentic be authentic to yourself and to whatever your brand is.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you you ultimately want to make sure you're not doing it just to go off of a trend,
Come
but you
on.
are doing it to communicate your message. So if you're staying true to yourself, and what you're doing,
Yeah.
the message will convey.
Yes.
And it's not because it was a trend. Now that the
Yeah.
trend applies to it, that's great.
That's great.
I've
Yeah.
seen, yeah, that's fantastic that you were able to kind of
Hmm.
go off of that, because
Hmm.
there's all types of trends.
Hmm. Hmm.
And what I mean by that, there's like trends that do lean more towards the inspiring,
Yes.
or there are trends that lean more towards the fun entertainment side.
Yes. Yes.
Then there's the educational side.
Yes.
So I think there are trends for all of these channels,
Hmm.
um, that could apply to the
So
brands.
different. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so um, as long as you're staying true to yourself and you're not just doing something because you're trying to pick up a trend,
That's
and
true.
I think it's going to be effective.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily effective because obviously we all have different KPIs. We all have
Yes.
different identifiers of
Yes.
what's something that's performing well or engaging,
Yep.
whether it is the views, the comments, the
Hmm.
shares, the
Hmm.
likes. You want to predetermine those things for
Hmm.
yourself, so that when it's out there, you're able to make more strategic decisions based on um, seeing the performance of
Yeah.
because of the goals that you set forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
You understood that you did want comments here, and you
Mm-hmm.
got comments,
Mm-hmm.
or you did want people to share this
Mm-hmm.
to um, to encourage someone else,
Someone else. Yeah.
and then you look at the shares. So it's setting those KPIs, because
Hmm.
if you go into it understanding what action you're trying to get someone to take,
Yeah.
um, you're able to modify or edit whatever piece of content you're trying to do to
Mm.
help meet those goals.
Right.
Because you're not going to post something just pretty to
Yeah.
get shares. You're
Yeah.
going to post something that educates or helps someone
Come on.
understand, like, oh, I needed to communicate this to someone else, or or even things like, oh, send this to a loved one to
Yes.
remind them that they are, or things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So those are call to actions that you have, that could work in a video form or work in a
Yes.
caption form.
Yeah.
So to
Oh.
help there.
That is
Yeah.
so good. That is so true. You don't just jump like, okay, follow the bandwagon, as they say, right? It's not just, okay, what's trending. You have to find out what works. Again, going back to who is your customer? Like, will
Yeah.
will your customer care about this? Will your
Yeah.
target audience, care about
Yeah.
this, so you
Yeah.
don't waste the effort. Focus on the people
Totally. And
that
is it
you've
true
been
to
called to.
yourself
Yes.
and to your audience? If it's true to
Yes.
you, the
Yes.
audience that you've built, that
Yeah.
you've set towards communicating to, targeting,
Yep.
then you're helping build that trust because
Yeah.
it's true to you,
Yeah.
build that trust, and then
Yeah.
you gain the confidence that they care or they're gonna care.
Yeah.
So you've gone into it knowing the decisions that you make aren't just to follow a
Mm-hmm.
trend,
Mm-hmm.
but they're to stay true to you and to that
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so good, right? That's so good.
Yeah.
So we're going to stay in that social media space,
Yeah.
digital marketing, because lately, social media marketing, influencer marketing, has now
Yeah.
been on the rise. Like, okay, so
Yeah.
how has this altered the marketing landscape, as far as you can speak to it? And what other trends, not just social media trends, but marketing trends in the industry that you're
Yeah.
thinking are on the horizon that marketplace missionaries can take advantage of?
Yeah, for sure. Influencer marketing is broader than just thinking about people with large
Mm.
followings, whether on social platforms or through their presence on different
Mhm.
um, on different areas or different
Mhm.
channels.
Mhm.
Um, but it does come down to budget. Budget is very important into all that you do because you need to have
Absolutely.
budget specifically set aside for marketing purposes,
Yeah.
whether it is you running ads, like I mentioned a little earlier, ads through web,
Yeah.
ads through social.
Yeah.
You you want to have budget set aside. And if
Yes.
you're going to do influencer marketing, you need budget for that too.
Absolutely.
Now, if influencer marketing is too high of a cost, some of
Yeah.
them are extremely high, then you want to
Yes.
think about
Mm. Okay.
budget set aside
Okay.
to help target that as well.
Yeah.
And that all it's broken down and I mean, now that it's existed for a while, they've
Yeah.
cleaned it up
Yeah.
to understand how to separate between
Between.
influencers and
So,
micro influencers.
mm-hmm.
And it all comes down to audience.
Yeah.
But you go back um, to what's true to you, and so
Yes.
do they align with you? And if
Yes.
they align with you, then you want to make sure. And then you felt you because it all goes back to trust. You don't want to
Yes.
break the trust that you've created with
Yes.
your audience.
Yes.
Um, so if it's true to you and they
Mm-hmm.
align with what you're trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I mean, and that's not going to be the easiest thing.
No.
People, I
No.
mean, even if you align on one thing, you might not
Yeah.
align on all things.
Yeah.
But it's going back to the trust that you've built with your customer,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
your audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. S- uh, Micro influencer. Can you
Mhm.
speak, just to take a few minutes and speak about what that is?
Yeah, no, and micro influencers thinking more about people with a smaller audience who
Ah,
might not have,
the large.
yeah, the
Mhm.
large, the micro influencers could be people with 1,000 to 5,000.
Ah,
It's
okay,
thinking
okay.
about a smaller audience, but still an audience to help communicate.
People bit. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Sounds
and
good.
that
Just like the
number
name.
could be different, but that's giving
Yes,
you a
yes.
perspective and
Of
ratio of like,
what it
it's
is.
thinking about a smaller audience,
Yes, smaller.
a micro audience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
yeah. Not that
Cool.
1,000 and 5,000 is bad. That's
No, not
that's
at all. Not at all. I'm not there
yeah.
yet. So that's a milestone right there.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So I think this question, we've kind of answered it, but I'm going to just bring it here as we begin to wrap up so that it's kind of like the bow we put on it, right? What advice would you give marketplace missionaries who want to leverage the power of marketing to promote their businesses and organizations while staying true to their faith and values? And I started it off by saying we kind of answered it with, hey, know who your audience is and stay true to yourself. But if you could just wrap up, like what specific advice would you give?
No, for sure. I think marketing is so important.
Mm-hmm.
It is so important. Like I mentioned earlier, there's so much to it in how you're communicating.
Yep.
And it is the front facing side
Mm-hmm.
of your business,
Mm-hmm.
you know, of your brand, and it's how you're communicating and engaging with your
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
So you want to do it strategically. I think what for us, it's not just doing it. There's purpose behind it.
Mm.
And you know, I love our team. I mean,
Yes.
we pray about everything we go, you know,
Yeah.
into. If we're looking for a strategy, like we're seeking God, and
Mm.
knowing that at the core of everything we do, that is why we do what we do, because we've been called,
Yeah.
you know. And so we're here, and I feel like when someone has a business, they feel called.
Yes.
They are called to
Yes.
do what they're doing, right?
Yes.
So at the core of all of it, we know that we lean and we trust God,
Mm.
that guidance, that you know, that he'll lead us.
Absolutely.
I think something that I've seen that's important is just being surrounded also by people who are like-minded.
Mm.
You know, when you're doing this, you don't want to do this alone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful that I'm surrounded by some incredible people
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
I get to lean on and learn from
Yeah. Yeah.
daily,
Yeah.
who inspire me,
Yeah.
who might be in a complete different field, but we get to have conversations about just things that at the core matter to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so that you know, that's important.
Important. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you know, going after your business and going
Yeah.
after what you're trying to do, all these things are available, and some of them are
Mm-hmm.
very flashy and nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but the mission behind what we're doing is so important,
Come on.
and that goes back to being true to yourself,
Yes.
understanding the audience that
Mm-hmm.
you know you've been called to in a way you're shepherding them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
you're
Yes.
helping either inform them, help them. You're shepherding this audience,
Yes.
and I think that's an amazing calling, and a lot of an amazing responsibility that
Yes.
we can't take lightly.
Uh,
So I love that. um, I love that we live in a time where we get to do that,
mm-hmm.
this broadly. Like
Yes.
it's not just this one newspaper that can help
Yes.
bring awareness to
Yeah.
something, or this one TV channel, you know.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
multiple,
Yes.
and you know that there's pros and cons to it,
Yes.
but
That's
right now
true.
I'm just focusing on the beauty of it, or the helpfulness of it, the
Yes.
benefit from it.
Yes.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's important.
That's so good.
And,
That's so
and like I
good.
mentioned a little earlier, it's
Yeah.
important to be on multiple channels. And by
Yeah.
multiple channels, I don't just mean
Mm-hmm.
um, different social platforms,
Mm-hmm.
but having a presence through your web,
Yes.
um, through your SEO, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
important.
Yes.
Having a presence through email, having,
Yeah.
you know, whether SMS is a key function,
Yeah.
um, you know, things like that.
And that's so true, because specifically now you just pointed it out that it's not just channels, because most times we'll be like, okay, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter. That's all good. But what about newsletter? Some people still would rather, like, I don't want to come to socials and follow you and be bombarded. You know, people still, so a lot of people, if quite a lot of people are still have this aversion with social media, like, oh, there's this, there's that, like you talked about, there's the good and bad of everything, no matter
Sure.
what it is, any tool, because it's a fallen world, it's a broken world, and we that have been redeemed, we understand this, but we're trying to use these tools redemptively, so to speak. But it's also focusing, like you said, okay, maybe it's a newsletter that you have to put out. Maybe it's recording videos. Yeah, they can go on socials, but maybe those videos go on your website. It's finding out where your people are, the people you're trying to connect with, and then just capitalizing on that. Yeah,
For sure,
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's I have a friend who was thinking about starting a YouTube channel,
Mm-hmm.
and what they wanted to do was focus on they're traveling the world, and they
Okay.
wanted to focus on just encouraging people from all over the world.
Mm.
And because I mean, we're students of life. We're
Yes.
always learning, right?
Yes.
Like, and I find that to be amazing. Like, I
Yeah.
love that
Yeah.
because one thing, I mean, technology is always advancing. There's more and more things
Yes.
you can do,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But I feel like God's always teaching us and helping us grow.
Hmm.
I think in our journeys, we'll never be stuck. Uh,
Yes.
there's
Yes.
always that growth that happens. And
Yeah.
it's important for us to acknowledge that, accept it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when God's trying to teach us something, to learn from it and
Yeah.
lean in on that. And
Yeah.
so I think even when we're thinking about our brands or our businesses,
Hmm.
we can look to all these different things that are happening or that are
Hmm.
coming up, opportunities that are coming up. And
Hmm.
you mentioned a little earlier talking about a newsletter,
Yes.
and that's an amazing tool.
Yep.
What's important there is consistency, right?
Yes.
If you're going to do
Yes.
newsletter, if you're doing it once a month, then focus on doing it once a
Once a
month.
month.
And
Yeah.
really what it is a reflection of you,
Hmm.
of the brand, of the
Hmm.
business.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
don't complicate it.
Yeah.
Stay
Yeah.
true to yourself
Yeah.
and let it just reflect that through what you're communicating in the newsletter.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so good, brother. Well, this has been a great conversation, right? And thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And I just want to pause and give a shout out to our team because
Yeah.
yeah, you said it. I wanted
Yeah.
to jump in. I was like, no, you're on the floor. Let me let you go. But we have some of the most amazing people. Like when we talk about the entire Lakewood church ministry, like from volunteers and all that, great people, great people.
Yeah.
Pastor Nick always says is that it's a vision that's been built on the sacrifice of a few, not many.
Yeah.
People that are
Yeah,
dedicated.
for sure.
But again, when we come a little bit granular and focused on like our marketing team, which I'm great privileged to be a part of, like there are some
Yeah.
amazing people out there. You all know
Yeah.
yourself, so shout out to you. You
Yeah.
guys rock. So as we close, anything else you'd like to share with our viewers and listeners before we wrap up?
You know what? I just if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, I
Yeah,
want to know about your business. I want to
yeah,
know about your brand, you
yeah,
know? I think I hope that in this conversation we've been able to talk about things that encourage you or maybe something that you were thinking about doing
yeah,
but you were unsure of, and that
yeah,
this has either sparked something or given you an idea towards something. Um, and I pray that success, and I pray that you continue to do things with excellence, staying true to what you've been called to do. And I've just seen in my life personally being obedient, um,
yes,
and just trusting God. Like
yeah,
sometimes doing things without having um, the doing it afraid, knowing that you're
yes,
trusting God, knowing that you're going
yes,
into it,
yes,
that He has your
yes.
hand, that He's guiding you,
Come
and
on,
just
come
stay
on.
faithful.
Yeah,
If He's called you there, if He's asked you
yeah,
to do this, if it's in your heart, stay faithful.
come on.
Um, and I've seen Him show up too many times,
Yes,
and
yeah.
I can't turn. I I'll always approach it that way.
That is so good. That is so good, brother. How
Yeah.
can viewers and listeners connect with you and stay updated on your work?
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say my personal primary platform that I'm on is Instagram.
Uh-huh.
And my username is JoeSergon.
Okay.
It's the first three letters of each of my names.
Oh wow,
So
that's
it's Joe
nice. I've
Sergon.
always wanted to ask you that. Like, yeah, why? Like when I connected with you, I'm like, I know people maybe put the name, and I'm like, where did he get this from? Because I know you're creative and
Yeah.
all that, and
Yeah.
and you're into music too, right? A little bit.
I am. I
Okay,
do.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I am. So
Yeah.
my personal is yeah, my name is Joe Servando Gonzalez.
Okay.
So it's SJoeSergon, the first
And
of
okay.
three. It was
Okay.
just my name is so common. Joe
Yeah.
Gonzalez,
Yeah.
there's so many Joe Gonzalez.
That
And
is so
so
true. That is
yeah,
so
and
true.
so that was the way of being able to separate it. But yeah, in my account, you'll see I just I post a lot about life. I'm
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for the people in my life,
Oh man.
family. my friends, the people I get to work with.
Yes.
I cherish everything,
Yeah.
all the moments, all the
Yeah.
memories we get to create, and so I
Yeah.
share a lot about that.
Yeah.
And I also have music.
Yeah.
I call that side of what I do Rive,
Okay.
and so I just have a lot of fun, and there's a lot that we're working on right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
And so yeah, so you'll see a lot more of that in there too.
Okay. Is there an album coming out?
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So I actually, yeah, no, so I'm releasing an EP at the end of March.
What?
Yeah. And so I'm doing a live show on March
Wow.
24th. And
Okay.
yeah, I'm so excited. I'm gonna do the songs in the EP, and then I'm gonna tease the stuff that's coming later in
Okay.
the summer. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. You know I'm gonna be there, like front and
Thank you.
center with
No, that's
we're
so kind.
waving, yeah, doing it, jumping. Yeah.
Let,
I'm gonna be there
let's go.
supporting my
No,
boy
that's so kind.
100,
I appreciate that.
100. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Once again, Joe, thank you so much for doing this on behalf of Pastor Brandon and all our viewers and listeners that will be benefiting from all that you've poured. So much knowledge. I'm grateful for you. We can't wait to see what's next, all the amazing things God is about to do through you. And staying connected with us, text business to 77377 or like this Facebook page so that you can stay updated with new releases and everything happening with the Lakewood Church Business Ministry. Thank you all. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, y'all.